everybody. I just wanted to do a video because I just finished The Last Days of Summer by Steve Kluger. So I'll read the back to you. Last Days of Summer is the story of Joey Margolis, neighborhood punching bag growing up goofy and mostly fatherless in Brooklyn in the early 1940s. A boy looking for a hero, Joey decides to latch on to Charlie Banks, the all-star third baseman for the New York Giants. But Joey's chosen champion doesn't exactly welcome the extreme attention of a persistent young fan with an overactive imagination. Then again, this strange, needy kid might be exactly what Banks needs. So I loved this book. This book is like now one of my most favorite books ever of all time. It was so good. The thing about this book that's really interesting is that it's written in scrapbook style. So it's kind of correspondence between Joey and Charlie back and forth, and like report cards and letters to other people and things like that. It's not written in a traditional fashion where it's a story with a beginning and the end. It's just kind of like letters, which was really cool. It was really easy to follow and it was funny. This book was so funny. I was laughing so hard at just, they're both a couple of smartasses and they complimented each other so well because they could just call each other out and have this great banter back and forth that I just loved. And they would reference things later on that they talked about before, and I got such a kick out of it. Joey is like the ultimate like smartass kid that's just kind of like, you know, will push your buttons and, you know, call you out and things like that. He kind of stretches some of the truth. Sometimes he just makes stuff up, but he's not, like, afraid to take some risks and to just be a kid and, you know, like, oh, well, what if I just write the White House? Like, he'll get responses from them, and which is kind of a stretch and kind of like, okay, that wouldn't really happen, but it's fiction. You can play a little bit with fiction, and this Joey would just, you know, have correspondence with the president or the secretary and just like, whatever, you know, it was such a good book. Charlie was a great guy that needed a reason to kind of mellow out. He was kind of like a tough baseball player that would just get in like some fights with people, and it was just, I got such a kick out of like his perspective of baseball, being a player for the New York Giants, and like, if you don't love baseball, it's okay. You don't have to love baseball to love this book. But, I mean, I got some of the references because I'm a baseball fan. But it's not so overwhelming that it, like, kicks you in the face to where you're like, well, if I don't like baseball, I'm not going to like a book about baseball. This isn't a book about baseball. It just has baseball in it, which is just kind of like a benefit of the situation. And, you know, Charlie began to be like a great father figure for Joey because he wasn't afraid to be like, hey kid, you gotta shut your mouth sometimes. Like, you can't mouth off like that all the time. And, you know, it's like, he was like a cool dad. Even though he wasn't Joey's dad, he was just kind of like a cool dad figure, which was awesome. And it kind of took me back to like a time when professional athletes were someone you could look up to and want to be like. And I feel like our generation kind of lost that because of the steroid era and how there's only like a handful of players that I would feel comfortable with my kids looking up to, you know, like Derek Jeter. Unfortunately, he's a Yankee, but you never hear Derek Jeter getting into trouble. You never hear, oh, Derek Jeter's on steroids. You never hear that. And Randy Johnson, God, I mean, what an underrated player. If he played ball in an era when people weren't getting into trouble, then he would be like one of the greatest players ever because, you know, it goes back to one of those things that I say, it's if nobody cheats, nobody has to cheat. You know what I mean? And Randy Johnson, totally underrated. He is a player that I would feel comfortable with my kids looking up to, even though he doesn't play anymore because he didn't feel like he was given his all anymore. So, side note about baseball, but I mean, and it's not just baseball players, it's sports in general. Like, I wish there was we still had a time when you could look up to a player like Charlie Bakes of the New York Giants. Like, oh man. But me finding this book was kind of by accident. I was at Barnes & Noble to pick up The Great Gatsby, and I was just kind of looking around, and I just see the spine, which has, you know, a little baseball on the top, and I'm like, oh, baseball. And then Last Days of Summer. I love summer. And then I turned it over, and it said A Modern Day Catcher in the Rye. And I was like, I love Catcher in the Rye. So I was like, all right, fine. You know what? You sold me. I'll buy it. Who knows? And it turned out to be such a gem. So if you are looking for something different that, you know, it maybe is out of your genre, maybe you don't like baseball, whatever, you should read it, because it was so good. I have nothing bad to say about this book other than I saw a very, I predicted the ending, and I was hoping I was wrong, and I sobbed and sobbed and sobbed and sobbed. But it's okay, I still loved it. So please, here, take this and read it. You should, because you'd be so happy. Anyways, I don't know what I'm reading next, so, yeah, I will go to Barnes & Noble hopefully today and pick something out. So, thank you. I hope you guys are having a good day. I'm going to go before my kids try to, you know, get crazy. So, I love you all, and I hope you guys are reading something awesome, because I want to know what it is. So, let me know in the comments below. And I'll talk to you guys later. Okay, bye.